Warm greetings, good people. We meet once again. We still continue with agricultural marketing. In this short lesson we will have now, we will look at price determination using supply and demand. When we look at this short lesson, the first thing that we must be able to define the two terms. We must be able to define supply. We must also be able to define demand. You will sometimes get this question in question 1.3, section A. We have to also interpret the law of supply and the law of demand. And for us to easily understand the law of supply and the law of demand, we have to use the curve, the demand curve and the supply curve. It makes it easy for us to interpret the law of supply and the law of demand. We have to also explain the factors that influence supply and the factors that influence demand. We have to be able to name the factors and also explain how does they influence the demand together with the supply, respectively so. Let us start by looking at the first one, demand. When we define demand, good people, we say demand, it is the amount of products consumers are willing to buy at a given price. And what I want you to note here is that you have to note that this is the produce that the consumer or that the customer is willing to buy at a given price. And things that I have highlighted there, I have highlighted consumer, I have also highlighted buy. You will see how these assist us when it comes in, when we define supply. So we are saying this is the amount or the number of products the consumers are willing to buy at a given price. When we look at the demand curve, you have to understand the shape of a demand curve. When we look at a demand curve, good people, this is the curve that we have. What I want you to note here is that the demand curve, if you look at it thoroughly, it is inversely proportional. Or you can say it's a negative curve. Meaning, if one variable increases, the other variable will decrease. If one variable increases, the other variable will increase. Or we can just simply say the demand curve, it will start from the top left and goes downwards to the bottom right. We will use this curve to explain or to interpret the law of demand. Let us have a look at the law of demand. Remember, we said if one variable increases, the other one will decrease. If we say the graph or the curve is inversely proportional. We simply say here, in the law of demand, the lower the price of a product, the higher the quantity demanded. Or else, if the price of a product decreases, the demand of that product will increase. Or you can put it in another way and say, the higher the price of the product, the lower the demand of the product. So we can also understand it in that manner. And whereby we say, if the price of the product increases, the demand of that product will decrease. Because we have to understand that if the price if the price is higher, there will be less people who will be able to buy the product. Why that's the case? It's because now the price is now high. So less people will say, I know I want this product. But if it may happen that the price is low, it means more people will be able to afford, or more people will afford the product. then there will be more people that will buy the product. Once there's more people who buy the product, it means the demand of that product becomes higher at that time. Let us use the graph to look at how can we understand the law of demand. It may happen, good people, that you have forgotten the law of demand. But if you still recall the graph, you have to note that. We said the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded. We have the price in rands, always there was price in rands this side. Then here we have the quantity of goods bought or quantity of goods demanded. And if you want to understand it in a simpler way, let us assume, good people, that this is 50 rands. This is maybe 2. We are saying now the price is 50 rands. The price is high. If the price is high, we go down. We want to check the demand of the product, the quantity of products that will be bought at that time. You can see that if the price is high, 50 rands, only 2 products will be sold, or only 2 products will be bought at that time. What does that mean? It means the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded, which is our law of demand. Or else we can understand it in this way. Now let us say here maybe it's 10 rands. We assume it's 10 rands. We can say maybe here it's 100. The price is 10 rand. The price of a product is 10 rand. We want to check the quantity demanded. If the price is low, what happens to the quantity demanded? It increases. So we can say the lower the price, the higher the quantity that will be demanded by the consumers. So we can use the graph to explain the law of demand. So let us summarize it. We are saying the price is high, the demand is low. Wena kuba lula kuwena uthatha irula yakho uyadweba ulayini ushayisa la, uyabuya udweba ulayini uzala. The higher the price, the lower the demand. La, we are now saying the price is low, the demand is high. It means the lower the price of the product, the higher the demand of a product. Hence we say, if we say the graph is inversely proportional or it's a negative curve, it means if one product is high, the other product will be low. I hope we are able to understand the law of demand in this manner. Let us take note of the fact that, good people, they can also say, throw a demand curve. If they say draw a demand curve, they will give you a data in a table form. When they give you the data in a table form, then they say draw a demand curve. Here's the data that we have. What you have here, price per bag. You also have units in rands. Quantity demanded, you also have units in kgs. Never forget the units. Then they've given you the prices and the quantity demanded. Then they say draw a line graph showing the quantity demanded at different prices. Draw a line graph showing the quantity demanded at different prices. Now you have to draw the graph. The first thing that you do, come up with your heading. You get your heading. This is where your heading starts. There's no need for you to even confuse yourself. You draw the graph, you write your heading. You get a mark, 1 mark for the heading. Then now you come, okay, fine. What you have here, you will have price per bag. You will write this information. Never forget the units. You also include the units. You change nothing. So you have a mark for this topic. You have a mark for saying price per bag, which goes with the calibration. You come this side. You will say quantity demanded, in brackets kg. So it is this very same information that we include. Now you get a mark for saying quantity demanded with the correct calibration. Another thing, you will get a mark for these two, if these two are correct, these correct units, you get what? A mark. How many marks do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, without even drawing the line. Then now we move on. They say draw a line graph. You draw a line graph. Then you start plotting 5 rands. In the 5 rands, what was there? In 600. 600, what was the price? It was maybe 5 rands. Come 500, maybe 10 rands. You come 400, it goes to 15. Up until you will see your graph will be in this format. But what I want you to highlight here, it's also a lesson that concerns drawing a graph. You can pick the marks from the information that you are given. Once you draw the graph, you get a mark for the line graph. If all these 5 points, all these 5 marks are correct, then you are given the other mark, which is a mark for accuracy, whereby we say everything is correct, then we can give you a mark. But then let's see how we can do it. This is how we were supposed to do it. A line graph showing the quantity demanded at different prices. You have the price per bag, remember, in brackets, rands. Quantity demanded, in brackets, kgs. Then you start plotting, you come up with a graph. The graph in this way, it is a demand graph or a demand curve. They can also say come up with a law of demand using this very same graph. You will be able to come up with. Okay, good people. Let us have a look at factors that are influencing the demand. We have a number of factors that influence the demand. The first one, it is price, the one that we use in the graph. So the price will influence the demand, in which way we've already said that the higher the price, the lower the demand. The lower the demand, the higher the price. It depends how you put it. We can also look at quality. What is the quality of the product? If this product of ours is of good quality, it means more people will buy the product. But if it's of poor quality, less people will buy the product. Then we can also look at another factor, which is fashion. How do they use the fashion? In fashion, we can also put it in this way in agri products. You may find that a material or a clothing that has been designed or that has been made using a skin from nguni kekli, it's in fashion at that time. So it means there will be high demand for what? For that product, because we do believe that the nguni, a product which is made up of nguni skin is in a fashion at that time. You can also look at festive season. In festive season, we say sometimes the products can be demanded differently based on seasons. We say in this case, you find that in Easter, or you find that during festive season or Christmas, there is a high demand for maybe golds or kekli. So you may find that during that time there will be more demand for them, but during the other times, whereby it's not Easter's or Christmas, there's less demand for what? For golds. We can also talk about substitute. When we look at substitute, we can say we say this is a product that can be used for the very same purpose for the other product. Ne? We come up with a what margarine. When we look at margarine and maybe peanut butter, they're used for the very same purpose. If it happens that the price of margarine rises or increases, people may say, no, I will not buy margarine. I can buy peanut butter because I can also do the very same thing with peanut butter. So it comes in that matter. We can also talk about what? Complements. In complements, a complement, it is a product that is used with another product. For you to use this product, you have to also have the other product. We talk about what? A bread and a butter. They go hand in hand. Let's say the price of bread rises, so people are no longer buying bread. Will you buy peanut butter? The answer is no, because you were using the peanut butter with bread. So we can say that the complements can also affect what, or can also influence what, the price of a product. We can also talk about consumer preferences. What is it that is preferred by the consumers? What is it that is liked by what? By the consumers. But in a simpler way, I used to say to my kids, you can cram all of them. But for you to get it right, I used to say P, Q, F. P for price, Q for quality, F for what? For fashion. But you can be able to master all of them if it's possible for you. Okay, good people. Let us now change and talk about what? And talk about supply. When we look at supply, we say supply is the amount of products a producer, now we say a producer. A producer is willing to sell or give to the market for a certain price or for a given price. When we're defining demand, we say the amount of products a consumer is willing to buy. Here we're saying amount of products the producer is willing to give or sell to the market. So master the differences. You will find that when you look at the statement in 1.3, you look at the statement as if I know it's one and the same thing, but no, it's not one and the same thing. It's different. But the key part is to take note of the underlined words. Let us look at the curve. When we look at this curve, we used to say it is a directly proportional curve. We can also say it's a positive curve, meaning if one variable increases, the other variable will also increase. If one variable increases, the other variable will also increase. Take note of the fact that here we are looking at what? At a relationship between price and quantity supplied. Law of supply. We say the higher the price, the more goods will be supplied to the market. If the price of a product increases, a farmer will want to supply more products to the market because he knows that he will get what? A profit. But we can also say the lower the price, the lesser goods will be supplied. If a variable, if a price of the product decreases, the farmer may not supply to the market because he will get what? A loss. So hence we said it's a directly proportional curve. If one factor or if one variable increases, the other variable will also increase. We can also look at using what? A graph. When we look at it using a graph, agree with me that this is 50 rands. This is 100 quantity. The price of a product is 50 rands. The quantity that is supplied to the market is 100 quantity. So we can agree that the price here is high. The quantity that is supplied is also high or more. So the higher the price of a product, the more goods will be supplied to the market. Now let us say it's 20 rands. And then here is 30 rands. It's 30 quantity. The price of a product is 30. The quantity supplied to the market is 30. So we can say the price is low. and the quantity that is being supplied to the market is also low. Hence we say the lower the price, the lesser goods will be supplied to the market. So if you have forgotten the law but you still recall the graph, just draw the graph and then you use this line to show it. Now the price is high, the demand or the quantity supplied to the market will also be high. We can understand it in that manner, good people. Let us quickly look at factors that affect supply. Before we talk about the factors, again, even good supply, they can also give you a table, ne? Then they can say from the table, write, or they can say from the table, throw a line graph, ne? Using the data that you are given. Sometimes now they can also say throw a bar graph. You will see when we do some tutorials about to draw a bar graph. Sometimes it's a double or a compound bar graph. You will see how we do it. But take note of the fact that they can also say draw it, and make sure that you follow the guidelines that we made when we're looking at the demand curve. Okay, fine. When we look at the factors that influence supply, one, it is the price itself. If the price is high, more goods will be supplied to the market. We can also talk about competitive products. We may also talk about competitive products. If there is another product that is cheaper in the market, the farmer may decide to hold his products, not supply them to the market, because at the end of the day he will get a loss because there's another product that is cheaper at the market. So we say it's competitive products. We can also look at environmental conditions. Environmental conditions, we talk about, we can talk about weather condition, we can talk about pest and diseases. They do affect supply. You find that the farmer, the crops of the farmer are affected by what? By diseases. Then the farmer will not be able to supply to what? To the market. Or else you can talk about political instability. You talk about civil war. You talk about labor disputes. You talk about service delivery. The civil war, the labor dispute may lead to what? To unrest that may take place. And if there's an unrest in a country or in a region or else in a province, it means there will be disturbance in the supply of a product. It happened whereby roads were blocked, and if roads were blocked, the trucks were not able to travel or to distribute the products, and then the supply was affected. The supply chain, we'll talk about chain. The supply chain was affected in that manner. You can also talk about the demand of the product. If the product, the commodity, is demanded higher, it means the supplier is supposed to give more to the market because people want the product. But if the demand of a commodity decreases, the supplier can also reduce the production. We can also talk about cost of production. The more the production cost increases, the farmer will not be able to produce. But if the production cost decrease, the farmer can produce and supply more to the market. You can talk about the possibility of increasing the supplies, but is it possible to increase the supply? But in most of the time, it's not possible to increase the supply. We'll look at this one when you talk about price inelasticity of supply. We can talk about subsidies. In subsidies, we say if a government is able to subsidize a farmer with production, the supply will end up doing what? Increasing. We can lastly talk about technology. In technology, we say a new technology that is introduced in farms may lead to more production, and we assume that if there's more production, it means there'll be more product that will be supplied to the market. And this one again, we can use an easy way of cramming it. We can say PTS, price, technology, subsidy, depending on one you choose. But you have to understand all of them, because now what they do, they can say, how does the subsidy affect, how does competitive products affect supply. So we must be able to look at it in that manner. So the most important thing is to understand the definition, supply, demand, the law of supply, again the law of demand. Know the graph. Ima kanjani i-law ye-demand, ima kanjani i-graph ye-demand, ima kanjani i-graph ye-supply. And be able to use the graph itself to interpret the law of demand, the law of supply. Once you understand it that way, then go to the factors. Know a minimum of 3 factors, just a minimum of 3 factors for each, demand and supply. You will be safe in that manner. They can also ask you, what are the factors that affect the price? Take note of this part. Take note of this part. What are the factors that affect price? The factors that affect price, the 2 factors that will affect the price of the product, it is the demand and the supply. So the two will end up affecting the price. So they affect each other in a simpler way. We can understand this in that way. And they can also say, explain the relationship between price, demand, and supply. Ne? So in that case, you have to combine the law of supply and the law of demand, whereby you will say the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded, the higher the quantity supplied to the market. So you have to understand it in that manner. Okay, good people, we will come back and look at market equilibrium. As for now, let's hold it here. Make sure that you don't watch it once, you don't watch it twice, you watch it 3 times or more. And when you watch it, you have a pen by yourself in your hand, and you take some few notes that you get. You take some few notes that you get. Ne? Thank you, good people.